Okay, we've all done it, right? You get a document, you're excited, and you just sign it. You don't read every single word of that tiny fine print. But what happens when there's a huge mistake buried in there? I mean, a single typo in a contract can feel like a total legal nightmare. But as we're about to find out, the solution is actually surprisingly simple and kind of elegant too.
So let's paint a picture. Imagine you've just landed your dream job. Yes, you've agreed on a great salary, say $60,000, and the offer letter is finally in your hands. In all the excitement, you just sign it right there on the spot. But then, later that day, you look at it again and your heart just sinks. They missed a zero. The contract says $6,000. Oh my gosh, are you actually stuck working for a tenth of what you agreed on? Is that even possible? Well, let's dig in and find out.
So what we're really talking about here is a classic problem, right? The piece of paper you're holding. It just doesn't match the actual deal you made. I mean, think about it. The document is just supposed to be the receipt for the agreement, the record of it. But in a case like this, the record is just wrong. So what on earth do you do now?
Okay, so when something like this happens, our brains immediately jump to all sorts of conclusions. And honestly, they seem pretty logical. But as it turns out, they're often legally wrong. So what we're going to do now is walk through some of the most common myths about contract typos, and we're going to debunk them one by one.
All right, myth number one, this is probably the most terrifying one. The typo is law. The idea that because you signed it, that's it. You're literally stuck with that $6,000 salary. But take a deep breath, because that's not how it works. The reality is, courts care about fairness. They care about what you actually intended to agree on. So if you've got emails or notes or even just a clear memory of the conversation about $60,000, the law isn't going to punish you for a simple typo. The real deal is what truly matters, not the mistake on the page.
Okay, so myth number two is the complete opposite. It's the idea that a mistake this huge just blows up the whole thing. Poof, the contract is gone, you don't have a job, the company doesn't have a new hire, the whole deal is off. But nope, that's not right either. Think about it. You both did make a deal. That agreement to work for $60,000, it's real, it's valid, it's just the piece of paper that messed up. Tossing out the entire agreement just because of a typo would be, well, kind of crazy and totally unfair. And that brings us to our third big myth. It's back to the beginning. The idea that you have to just rip up the contract and start negotiating all over again. Now you can see why this would be a problem, right? It gives one person a totally unfair advantage. Can you imagine your new boss saying, well, looks like that contract's no good. Let's talk again. How does 55K sound? No way. The law prevents that kind of thing. A deal was made, a real agreement was reached. The goal is to honor that deal, not to give someone a sneaky second chance to change it. So, okay. If you don't enforce the crazy typo, and you don't just cancel the whole deal, and you don't start over from scratch, then what is the answer? Well, this is where the law has this really cool, surprisingly simple solution. You can really just think of it as a legal edit button for contracts. And the official legal term for this process is rectification. It's a really powerful idea, and honestly, it gets right to the very heart of what a contract is supposed to be. And yeah, it means pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's the official process of correcting a mistake in a written contract to make sure it matches the actual agreement that people made. And this part is absolutely crucial. You're not changing the deal. You are simply fixing the paperwork about the deal. Big difference. This right here, this illustrates the whole goal perfectly. Look, on one side, you've got the flawed document, the paper that says $6,000. But on the other side, you've got the real deal, the true agreement, what you actually shook hands on, the $60,000. Rectification is basically the bridge between them. It's the tool that lets you fix the paper on the left to match the truth on the right. Simple as that. So, how does this actually work in the real world? Well, it's a pretty straightforward three-step process. First, you've got to prove there's a mistake on the page. That's usually the easy part, right? Hey, look, I'm missing zero. Second, and this is key, you need to show what the real agreement was. This is where all those emails, notes, and conversations become super important. And finally, if you can prove your case, a court can officially order the document to be corrected. Boom, done. Now, I know this might sound like some boring legal detail, but the idea behind rectification is actually really important. It's about more than just typos. It speaks to the fundamental question of what a contract even is. And this quote, this really is the single most important thing to remember from all of this. The document records the deal. The document is not the deal itself. A contract isn't some magic piece of paper that creates reality. No, it's just a record of an agreement, a mutual understanding between people. And when that record is wrong, the law's first job is to fix the record, not to mess with the original understanding. The truth, that's what matters. Okay, so let's wrap this up. What are the big takeaways here? First, your true agreement, the real deal you made, is what really counts. That's what the law wants to protect. Second, a court's goal isn't to be a robot and just enforce typos. It's to make sure things are fair. Third, remember that a written document isn't unbreakable. It can be fixed to show the truth. But, and this is a big but, the absolute best advice is still the simplest. Please, please, please read everything carefully before you sign. It'll save you so much headache. And all of this leaves us with one last kind of deep question to chew on. We're always taught that your signature is your bond, right? It's this super powerful binding promise. But if the very document you're signing can be changed later to reflect a different reality, what are you really committing to when you put that pen to paper? What does a signature truly mean? Something to think about.